There is a lot of platform offering DIY graphic design nowadays. You got the option to design your own logo, for example, or get somebody else to do it for you, really cheap. I mean, really, really cheap. So the question really is, are these platforms any good? Can you DIY your own graphic design? And are graphic designers, professional graphic designers, now rendered obsolete? Guys, my name is Ep04, and I started this YouTube channel to share with you what I've learned during my career as a graphic designer and in branding and in advertising, what I call brand communication. Today we are going to look at DIY graphic design. Can you really do your own graphic design? Should you design your own business card, posters, website, etc.? Or should you give it to somebody else to do it online on one of those online marketplaces and get it done very, very cheap? Well, the answer is yes and no. Canva and auction sites or online marketplaces have changed the game big time, there is no denying. But really, I think that professional graphic designers should not worry. On the contrary, those free design platforms are great for professional graphic designers because they do weed out the cheap jobs, the cheap clients, the beer budget client with champagne taste. They weed them out and leave you with the best and the creme de la creme jobs, which command top dollars. Also, those platforms where you DIY your own graphic designs have some significant downfalls and drawbacks. Buy cheap, buy twice. This is always the same story. Let's see what's available for those who want to employ the services of a professional graphic designer. Well, there is only two types really. There is the auction site or online marketplace site, and there is also the DIY template kind of design like Canva. On an auction site or online marketplace platform, you choose to either nominate how much money you want to spend for a logo, for example, or you do pick a designer and that offers his services for X amount of dollars. The problem with those platforms is that designers from very different backgrounds, different countries are pitted against each other. So you will have a graphic designer from London or New York, for example, that will be pitted against another designer for the same service, for example a logo, against a designer from India or a third world country. Obviously, the standard of living in those two countries, from India to first world country like England or America, the US, obviously the standard of living is very different. And what you need to live every day in New York is not the same as what you need to live in Mumbai, for example. Consumer prices, 65% lower in India. Consumer prices, including rate, 70% lower in India. Rent prices, 82% lower in India. Restaurant prices, 77% lower in India. Grocery prices, 54% lower in India. So you can see that a graphic designer based in London or New York has very little chance in competing against a graphic designer from India, for example. Obviously, they will ask more money for designing a logo than a designer from a third world country would. So this is globalization, right? Everything is now outsourced in third world country because it's cheaper, including graphic design, toys for Christmas, everything is outsourced. Globalization. Is that good? Is that right? Well, as most things, it's not black and white, it's a gray answer here. What you got to remember is if you encourage the practice of outsourcing every single job to a cheaper bid, well, your job will soon be outsourced. Every job can be outsourced somewhere else cheaper. Remember that. And we saw already now with this current pandemic how bad an economy can be feeling when everything's outsourced and depending from other countries. And how vulnerable your economy is when you rely on other countries. With the pandemic now, we cannot obviously get anything from abroad, and that makes us vulnerable. Also, the principle of auction site is a little bit unethical. This is how some work, all right? Somebody wanting a logo will send a brief out there, and whoever is interested in making 5 cents will bid for this contract and propose a design. So you will have a design from like one designer from London and 4 designers from India. Of course, the price they will be commanding will be different. Like I said, there is different platforms. Some will dominate the price and some will say, no, we'll do the job for $5 and we'll do the job for $30. So you can get logo for $5, you can get logos for free, you can get logos for anywhere up to $2,000. Most people will go for the cheapest. So those people, those 5 designers will be competing for to be paid for this design, designing this logo. They will present their designs and you are going to pick one and the other 4 won't get paid. How would you feel if it was the same for a restaurant, for example? You go to a restaurant, you sit down on a table, the garçon come to you and say, sir, what would you like to eat? Oh, well, I don't know what I want to eat. I like your menu, but I'm not sure which dish I will pick. So can you just cook them all and I will taste them, and the one I like I will pay for and the rest can go in a bin. That doesn't make any sense, right? Well, that's exactly what's happening with auction sites for graphic design. And it is also something that is happening a lot for graphic design or advertising agencies, where they are pitting and competing against other agencies, offering their services often for free and their designs for free and their intellectual property for free, in hope to be picked for the job. So this is not a very good practice. The free pitching is not something to be encouraged, a little bit unethical in my view. Online marketplace platforms put together different designers. Again, you can look at a category like designing a logo, and you will have a designer from London who will charge up to 2,000, whatever price, fair amount of money. And you will have, for the same logo design, you will have another guy from a third world country who will charge $30, $12, $14. Obviously, most people will go for the cheapest. There is a fine line between getting a bargain and pure exploitation. We do all love to have our cheap shoes and cheap t-shirt from Kmart, Walmart or Target. But there is a point where cheap becomes too cheap and it becomes unethical. The other problem with those online marketplace or auction sites is the often total lack of accountability. Rarely can you get any services from those offshore designers after the logo has been designed. If you need to print it, for example, and your printer says to you, what's a CMYK breakdown, what's a Pantone breakdown on that logo, and you go back to your designer and strangely is very quiet. You got to remember that especially in a third world country, those designers are more working like a sweatshop. They are not just one designer working at home happy. Often they are set up in a big room or in a small room with 30 designers, and they just churn out design after design after design. Often you're using the same clip art, changing the name of the company. Don't have time for proper service and whatever question you will have afterward. When the logo is done, they don't want to hear about you anymore. And I'm not making this up. I often get people coming to me, telling me that they design whatever and they need to get it fixed because they can't print it or they can't do this, or they need something for their website and they just want to extract a part of the design for the website or whatever. And they can't get it done by the original designer because the guy is completely out of touch. Something else. The design supplied is often not right. It's not done in a way where you can print it. There is no bleed, no crop marks, or like I said earlier, the color breakdown is completely wrong. A lot of things are wrong there. Also, being provided a cheap logo doesn't give you everything. It doesn't help you build afterward a coherent brand, a consistent brand. It doesn't help you and give you the colors that you should be using, the font that you should be using for the rest of your design, to build up your website, to build up your stationery, etc. So you are left on your own to build up your own brand with your logo designed by somebody overseas. And most likely, because you are not a professional graphic designer, what you will put together will be incoherent and will form a very bad brand and a very bad image of your business and of yourself. It will make you look like an amateur, which you are because you are not a professional graphic designer, and it will show very, very quickly. The other type of platform is the DIY template platform like Canva. Here you are provided with several templates for example, a flyer or a poster. And you pick the design that you like and you just edit the text, the date, the body copy, and make it your own. Change the photos if you want to. Fantastic, right? And often those designs are fantastic. Those designs are great because they are done by professional graphic designers. So the template that you will pick will look great until you start to edit it. All right, there is two ways to edit those. You can just do what you are supposed to do, which is just edit the text and change it. Change the photo to something relevant to what you need, etc., etc. But often that's not the case. Often from one photo you need 4 photos. From one text, one header, you need 2 headers. And you start to change things in the template. And little by little, again, because you are an amateur, you are not a professional graphic designer, you are changing something that looked great into something that will look awful, incoherent, and make you look like an amateur, make you look like a non-professional, make you look like you don't know what you are talking about. The other problem with this kind of template platform is that, well, it's like the clip art problem. You end up with a design that you might find somewhere else. You want a poster, for example, to launch your new fashion show, something prestigious. You got big A-lister coming to your fashion show. You got a beautiful poster with your logo and your everything on it. And you put that on the walls everywhere. And in your neighborhood, what do you see? A stripper club is advertising an event the week later using the same template. So how good will that make you look? So don't fool yourself. You reap what you sow, buy cheap, buy twice. You get what you pay for. Graphic design is a language. It's a communication language. You communicate visually what you cannot communicate verbally. You need to learn that, just like you need to learn how to be a 3-hat chef, how to be an electrician, how to be an engineer and build a bridge. You can't just be one overnight. You can't be a graphic designer after 5 minutes on Canva. So those platforms still answer a need and they are still useful, yes, but only for small jobs. Just like you can change a light bulb, but you can't be an electrician because you can change a light bulb. If you rewire your whole house, most likely it will burst in flames or you electrocute yourself. Same with graphic design. You can do small stuff on Canva or Fiverr. Great, not bad, happy as. But big stuff, call a guy. Leave it to a professional. Here are some horror stories of people who think that they can design themselves. There is no doubt that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But hiring a professional designer will protect you from hideous design choices. You just cannot replace years of experience. If you want your brand and your business to look professional, to look like you know what you are talking about, then call the pro. How often do I hear that my child can paint like Picasso? No, it cannot. You think you can, but you cannot. You just don't understand it. So trust me, graphic design is the same thing. You think you can do it, but you cannot. Okay, the argument for not using the services of a professional is often the price, the money, and that's fair enough. I mean, everything is getting tight at the moment. We all want to save $1 or $2, fair enough. And like I said, those platforms still answer the need of cheap jobs, small jobs, fine, that's okay. But also consider your time investment, the time that you will invest in doing this design, graphic design, designing the logo or the flyer yourself, as opposed to give it to a pro. A pro will take 10 minutes to do it, for example, and he will charge you a little bit because 10 minutes is not much of his time. You will take an hour, maybe 2 hours. Okay. Now, this hour or 2 hours of your own time, how much is that worth? Most people will say, well, it's worth nothing, it's my time. That's very wrong. 2 hours of your time doing what you do best. Earn some money, significant money. How much is that money? Is it as much as what the graphic designer will be charging for designing a flyer for you? Are those 2 hours best employed doing what you do best, earning money? Or spending time on Canvas, for example? Like I said earlier, those platforms are not that bad for professional graphic designers. Why? Seemingly, it will look like it's taking a lot of work away from us. And yes, it does take a lot of work away from us. But the type of work that it takes away from a professional is not such good jobs anyway. They are the cheap guys, the cheap jobs. They are the beer budget with champagne taste. They are the ones who take a lot of your time. They are the ones who are always on the phone to you. They got those ridiculous requests and demands, and they don't want to pay. And when it's time to pay, they delay. It's a nightmare. And don't even get me started on doing jobs for family or mates. Nightmare. Every professional graphic designer would rather have one top-paying job instead of 50 cheap ones. All my best jobs, most fun jobs, always been the very, very high-paying jobs. And we are talking upward $250,000 here. And why is that? Those people are educated, they have taste, and they understand what you are doing. And they will leave you doing your job because they know that they are good at what they do and you are good at what you do. That's why they hire you. They hire you to do what you do best. So if you are a professional graphic designer, stick to the big cats, the top-paying jobs. You won't regret it. So in summary, yes, the game has changed a lot. And graphic design, like many other things, have been democratized and everybody can have a go at it. And that's great. But even if you can DIY a lot of things, at one stage, you will always need the help of a true professional. You will always need a professional approach and sensitivity when a job is beyond your DIY capabilities. You can put a band-aid yourself on your fingers if you have a little scratch, but if your fingers get severed, don't try to reattach it yourself. Call a surgeon, call a doctor, ask for a pro. That's it for today. Thank you guys, see you next time.